Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So today I'm going to talk about our 2024 Integrated Resource Plan, or IRP. We're required to do one every 3 years, and 2024 was one of those years that we were required to do it. So a little bit about the utility I work for. So we're the main utility in the state of Nevada. We're almost about, historically about 9 gigawatt peak load and about 7 gigawatts of own generation. So you'll notice that we actually require, purchasing from the market and stuff. So we call that our open position. So we do buy from the California market. And also another thing about the NV Energy was the formation of 2 utilities. One in the north was the Sierra Nevada Power Company, and the southern one was the Nevada Power Company. So as you can see, there's that's kind of where our major load centers are and stuff, Nevada and the Reno area. But also in the state of Nevada, one of the bigger things that happened in the last decade or so is this Greenlink project, the transmission project. There isn't a lot of transmission in the vast desert of Nevada. There really was only one existing line that was on the kind of east side of the state here. But the Nevada Greenlink project is allowing us to connect from the north here, Greenlink North, and Greenlink West, which will allow us to move more renewable energy and better serve our load and help meet, kind of decarbonization goals and stuff in the future. And that whole project will be done by the end of December 2028. So for our 2024 IRP, we used PLEXOS pretty extensively. It was the primary tool that we used outside of like Microsoft Excel and stuff like that. So we both use PLEXOS LT and kind of the PLEXOS, we call it ST, but really it's PLEXOS MT and ST. So just a few things that I kind of pointed out here as kind of things that were maybe unique to what we do in PLEXOS. I'll be happy to go over more settings later if there's any questions. But for our LT, we do like we go up to 2050 in our resource expansion. So it was a 26-year expansion that we did. And one of the things we do in LT is we use 1 week per month sampling. We find that you got to kind of use sampling, especially in a system with a lot of renewables and energy storage. That's kind of the chronologically you have to use. And also then, so we run, for the production cost, we run PLEXOS MT and ST. And we use the MIP, we use integer unit commitment. Our system is fairly small, so we're able to use that and have decent run times. We also modeled 8 hours of look ahead in our ST phase. And that was important because as what we've seen as you get into the future with more and more energy storage, if you're doing daily steps and the model just solves for that day, it thinks that's the end of the world, so it's going to end with all the energy storage being empty. And if you start seeing like unserved energy at 1 a.m. just because you didn't carry any energy storage, that's why the look ahead was an important feature to use in PLEXOS. And we also, another thing that's kind of unique, we've actually run all the years that we ran in our resource expansion, we also run those in production costs. So we run all 26 years. So why do integrated resource planning and resource forecasting? Well, there's 2 major driving forces here. One is capacity. So we have a 12.5 planning reserve margin on an unforced capacity basis, and that would be represented by this orange line here going up. And as you see, with our existing resources here in the blue bars and previously approved projects in that little bit of green on top of that we have a gap there that we need to fill. And then by 2024, a lot of our existing fossil units will be retired, or that's the current plan. So we need to fill that gap. We need to plan, do some resource expansion and planning. And also, though, the state of Nevada has a RPS, a Renewable Portfolio Standard. That's represented by these bars here. It's like both with the blue bars being the requirement of 50%, and then also there's a goal by the state and our utility to be net zero by 2050, and that's represented by the yellow portion there. There's also a little portion of customers who want to be 100% renewable. We call them Nevada Green Rider. and that's the little portion on top there. So again, this is our renewable requirement, and the green line is where we currently are if we don't build anything. So these are the two driving things for our resource expansion. And so in PLEXOS LT, you can imagine these are our two main constraints. We're building capacity to meet the 12.5% PRM, and we have a renewable energy constraint to meet the 2050 net zero goal. So the first step was in PLEXOS LT to develop a base case. So we gave PLEXOS LT these sort of, we call them candidates. So we had combustion turbines, combined cycles, pump storage hydro, standalone solar, standalone battery, paired solar battery, wind in Nevada and wind in Idaho, and geothermal. And all the renewables were basically 1 megawatt linear builds, but the fossil units, the pump storage, are integer decisions. So we ran that with those same objective functions from before of the planning reserve margin and the renewable energy, and this is the sort of build out that we had in our base case. A lot of solar, a lot of batteries that economically, that's probably price points that proved out. It did build the pump storage unit in there in about, I think it was between 2030 and 2035. And also, we did build some fossil units. You could see here we call them firm dispatchable, and the gas units there, the two also increased from 2025 to 2030, where we built a pair of CTs. So that was our base case. And our base case, we used, when we go into production costs, we called it, it was used to create two plans. We had a balance plan and a renewable plan. The only difference in that is the renewable plan, we didn't have those CTs that were built in between 2025 and 2030. So we used that, but we ran two other expansion plans. One we call with the no open position. Like I was talking about earlier, we're depending on buying from the market. Well, what if we close that open position and count on no capacity from external markets? So that was the case there on the left. And then on the right here, we also have, we're required by the state to do a low carbon case. And that one there targets by 2030 that we have an 80% reduction of our carbon limits from 2005. So it kind of ends in the same spot by 2050, but it's just much more aggressive, building renewables much, much, much more sooner. So we basically have those three LT runs that we use to create 4 production cost models. So one of the things, from LT is really good at capacity expansion, but you want to check, and run the production cost in PLEXOS, ST to see if you actually met those targets. So on the chart on the left, we looked at, okay, so the green bar is that 2050 goal, and we looked at what was the renewable energy by these different plans. And we met it in all the plans by 2050. You can see the low carbon one is much more aggressive. It ramps up much more sooner there. And then those blue bars represent, well, what if we don't go to the goal? What if we just go to the mandate of being 50% renewable? And then also here on the carbon, we looked at, that low carbon plan of meeting the 80% reduction of 2005 levels, does that low carbon plan meet that? And that's that gray line here, and the 4 million short tons is what that goal was. And yeah, we meet it by 2030 and we stay below that, but really all the plans also achieve that same level of carbon reduction by 2050. So yeah, this right here just showing some of the energy output from the production costs. The balance plan, the renewable plan, and the no open position plan all performed very similarly. So I just showed one of the charts there for the balance plan. And then the low carbon plan was that more aggressive plan with more renewables sooner, and just you can see a lot more renewable energy, in like the 20, 30, 35 years. But really, again, towards the end, it's very, very much similar. So we take those plans, and after we run the production cost, we use the cost coming from that, the capital cost to build these projects and things like that, and we run that through our spreadsheet model, which we do a present worth revenue requirement, and we kind of rank our plans. So you can see here that what we called the balance plan was the cheapest over the 26 years. The renewable plan, which was only slightly different, didn't build the CTs, but it did build some energy storage to replace those CTs for capacity, was second ranking at about, I guess, 1 billion more in the 26-year look. And then the no open position, to close that open position would be about 5 billion more and ranked third. And then the low carbon plan, which is very aggressive with the renewables being built sooner, was the most expensive at almost 6 billion more. So what we ended up selecting when we filed our IRP was the balance plan. That was our preferred plan. So we submitted our IRP to the commission in June 1st of 2024. And so the story kind of has a happy ending. In December 27th, the commission approved our plan. Basically, pretty much it's all the resources we were asking for, and with very little changes. The only changes that was more in like demand response. Some of that was aggressive, and they would like to see that a little bit different. So that was pretty much our 2024 IRP. I think that's all I had there, but I'll be happy to answer any questions or go into more details. There's a question here. Is there any microphones, or do you just want to speak up? Okay. Yeah, I mean, so you're talking about, so the question was about, like, that's the reliability concerns about going to that level of solar and batteries and strength of inertia and stuff like that. We do, one of the things, we're just running production cost models as we look at that, but what we do allow like the batteries to provide reserve services and things like that, which if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to, because there's no more like fossil units anymore. It's mostly just the batteries and stuff. But, and we look at like things like, is there any unserved energy and stuff like that, and we didn't see any. But as far as like the inertia, and there's probably still more problems to be solved by the time we get there with these level of renewables and stuff. The world will be a different place, that's for sure. Yeah, so yes, basically, yeah. So we call anything that's real is gas, basically. So we use firm dispatchables. We're modeling it as like combined cycles and CTs, but they're placeholders. So everything that's not like a real project we call as a placeholder, and I mean, that's how we're modeling it for now, but things can change. That's one of the things we're required to do an IRP every 3 years, but the way things are changing so fastly, we're probably going to almost do an IRP every year. So those firm dispatchable units that are just placeholders could be replaced with something more real. But I think a lot of people in their integration resource plans kind of have something similar, because the future is very unknown, and who knows? It could be hydrogen power. It could be a lot of different things between now and then, but right now, the only thing we can model that's tangible is like a fossil unit, combined cycle.
Do you model a higher variable cost or something else just as sort of a placeholder for that you expect is not going to cost the same as fossil?
No, well, we escalate the cost of what a project like that would be today, but we don't model anything like extra expensive because of what technology that might represent. But one of the things too, we try to keep that same between all our plans, so it's not biasing one plan over another and stuff. But yeah, that we don't make it any like unknown technology that's more expensive than what we would models, what we'd use for today, basically. Okay.
I noticed you had a bullet point about planned outages and using the PASA phase. Can you speak more about how you use the PASA phase to model your planned outages?
Sure thing, sure thing. So I think that was, yeah, here. So, yeah, do you remember what slide that was? I remember, yeah, we do use PASA for that. So in our phases of running our production costs, so what we'll do in PASA is we do only one random draw. So we're running only model one set of force outages, but also PASA, we'll give it, for all these future resources and stuff going forward, we will let PASA schedule it. So we'll give it a requirement that maybe you have like a planned outage rate of a certain percent and a certain frequency, and we'll let PASA do that for scheduling. So that's why we run the PASA phase. The MT phase, that gets past the MT, and then MT, we basically run that for any constraints that we have that are longer than a day, which is, there's quite a few of them. Like, batteries have a number of cycles per year. Some resources like Hoover have a monthly energy limit. So MT will optimize that phase and stuff. And then, of course, ST is their day-by-day optimization. That kind of answer that question? Okay.
Quick question. So, I imagine that there's constraints on water consumption. Is that the case? So when you look at like moving forward, like with your combined cycle gas turbines that are being built out, how do you control for water conservation efforts?
That's a good question. So we don't model water in our PLEXOS model, our consumption there and stuff, but some units do have capacity factor limits on them based on historically, like there's some units in the north, especially due to maybe drought conditions, they don't have the cooling capability, so they're seasonal, like they might be set up to only run during the summertime, and but water is an issue in Nevada, that is for sure and stuff. But really, what we're seeing though is a lot of for cooling capability and stuff, a lot of the fossil units, their capacity factors are going down as we go forward with all these renewables and stuff. So if there is water that's needed, we're probably using less of them and stuff. One of the things, the pump hydro that got selected, this is at a site that was originally many years ago, decades ago, was planned to be like a coal unit site. So they had water rights there already for the cooling for the coal unit, but that's not going to be the plan going forward. But now there is a potential for a pump storage hydro of 1,000 megawatts, about 8 hour storage there and stuff. But again, that's going to have evaporation losses and things like that. But I think the generation group has done their studies and that the water rights that they have there and stuff that would have been used for the coal unit would replenish that evaporation losses and stuff like that and things, if that project does go forward. That was kind of just like a placeholder for right now, but it still something that we're looking at.
Okay, I think we're good with the questions for now. Brandon, if there's any other questions, feel free to answer it after this today. But thank you so much, Brandon, for your presentation.
Yeah.